Hey everyone, it's Phil Dawson, your humble narrator here. And before we jump into the story, a quick reminder this podcast is brought to you by our title sponsor, Gamers Dreamland, your online LGS and go to spot for Magic the Gathering singles. Whether you're brewing something new or chasing down a long lost foil, Gamers Dreamland has you covered. A TCG Player Gold seller, which means fast shipping, trusted listings, and a ton of inventory that's priced to move. And here's the sweet deal, orders over $10 do ship free. And when you use the link in the show notes, you'll automatically get 10% off your entire order. Just head to gamersdreamland.com. No codes, no hoops, just click, shop, and save. And the best part, every time you buy from them using that link, they support this show. That means I can keep bringing you more chapters, more voices, and more of the magic story that you love. It's the perfect little loop. You get cards, they support the podcast, and we all win. So go ahead, planes run. Don't planes walk to the best deals, huh? That's Gamers Dreamland, your online LGS. Chapter 15.
There is no freedom for us in Yawgmoth!
Shouted Gix into the cavern. It was the largest chamber in all the caves, once home to nearly 10,000 untouchables. 5,000 remained, pressed in a tight mob beneath the ridge where the young rebel harangued.
Yes, Yawgmoth elevated some of us, but the rest he leaves to rot and die. Every day, more Thittic outcasts arrive in the quarantine cave, but for more than a year, no healthy folk have been called above. We will never be called. Yawgmoth has gleaned the grain and left the chaff to be burned.
The throng's anger roared in the throat of rock where they gathered.
I have striven to fulfill Yawgmoth's promise. I've conducted to those surface anyone with enough courage, and hoped to rise. For a time, those folk found promise in the light. But that time was all too brief. Yawgmoth does not usher us into the light, but into a furnace. He burns us to fuel the engine of his ascension. I personally have heard him speak of our dead as useful tools. He piles our bodies on the steps of the council hall like a rat catcher seeking bounty, and he gets his reward. The Halcytes are willing to pay more to kill us than to heal us, more to bury us than to raise us from this living tomb.
Rage united the crowd in one voice.
And do we fight back? Do we dare hate the hater? No. We cower in our tombs and thank Yawgmoth for each shovelful of dirt he pitches on our heads. Well, I say, no more. No more!
They raised their fists with his.
No more! No more! We rise! We do not wait to be elevated. We rise! Lava up the mountain's throat! We rise!
Yawgmoth worked serenely at a desk behind the infirmary window. Outside, ragged rioters poured from every sewer grate and storm drain. Watching them, he placidly stirred an anti-serum. The concoction leached all metallic substances from blood and tissues, thereby accelerating the phthisis. Anyone already infected would be dramatically worsened. Anyone healthy would contract the disease in mere days. There had been previously no public use for the anti-serum. These rioters suggested an excellent one. Gix will be leading them, Yawgmoth said to himself as he watched a brutish untouchable bash back a doorway, drag forth the man of the house, and beat him into an inert pulp. There'd be plenty of infected individuals among them. Yawgmoth lifted the anti-serum and peered through the ruby liquid. In round distortion, he saw the brute get his head lopped off by a Hellside guard. The poleaxes had been Yawgmoth's suggestion. This lovely wine will prove very useful now, indeed. Yawgmoth set down the anti-serum, watched the battle unfold. A mob of untouchables gathered down the street, ready to charge the infirmary. He'd expected as much. Gix would have identified the infirmary as the principal objective, and Yawgmoth as the foe to be captured. It is merely a game of drafts. Yawgmoth had planned every detail of the city's defense. Gix would play the game just as Yawgmoth had laid it out. Gix and the Elder Council, Rebek, and Glacian, even the Planeswalker, Diefed, all were opponents, whether they knew it or not. This is Yawgmoth's game. He drew open a drawer of the desk and removed a shallow box. Within lay a miniature floor plan of the infirmary. Small power stones glinted in key locations along the plan. Outside, a group of rabble, perhaps 200 strong, surged down the street toward the infirmary. Above their heads, they brandished whatever weapons, true or improvised, that they had gathered. An animal roar united them into a single mangy beast. The mob stretched out in the charge. The front of the group rushed up the main stairs. White marble murals funneled them beneath a lofted statue of crystal, a gigantic angel spreading wings of welcome before this place of healing. Without slowing, the rioters crashed thunderously against the infirmary's steel doors. Rebek had protested about those doors, Yawgmoth muttered. He had replaced cut glass with stout steel. She would not protest when she learned the new doors might as well saved her husband's life. The rest of the mob arrived. Rioters crushed up against the steel. The momentum of their charge was spent in the impact of body on body. She will certainly protest about this, Yawgmoth said, sliding a power stone from the miniature of the infirmary. Outside, the crystalline angel gave no sound as she tipped on her foundation. The massive figure tilted above the shoving mob. The angel fell. Only at last did eyes rise to see her, rushing down, silent and grim, upon them. Perhaps 50 died beneath the initial impact. The statue gleamed crimson for a moment, settling on corpses. Then, thousands of cracks raced across her gory figure. She shattered. Razor jags of angel lashed out to cut down another 50. Seemed a red fountain, blood jetting up and crystal crashing down. Untouchables fell and flailed and flopped. A devastating play, Yawgmoth said. 100 rebels defeated by a single work of art. That left 100 more, of course. Let them live, horrified, let them panic, and spread the contagion among the others. A devastating play. The mob fell back. There was no longer a chance of breaking in that way, slick with blood and crystal shards. In their midst, Yawgmoth glimpsed Gix himself. Within his wrappings, Gix's eyes were wide with horror. As all the others stared in dumbfounded terror at the shattered angel and the slaughtered bodies, Gix glared toward the upper window, where Yawgmoth stood. He realizes, he knows this is the game, Yawgmoth told himself, but he does not yet realize he cannot win. In the next moment, Gix seemed to. Shouting above the heads of the stunned throng, he called up for them to scatter. "It's a trap! Split up! Everyone split up!" They did not listen. Perhaps they could not hear him above the screams of the dying. He tried to show them, shoving them toward the side passages away from the infirmary. They staggered, moving only as far as he could shove them. At last, Gix grabbed the sleeves of 2 other rioters and dragged them bodily from the street. They were the only 3 who would escape. No sooner had they fled than 5 of Yawgmoth's sword-wielding healers closed off the street. 5 more appeared in each byway, and 12 in each direction of the major thoroughfares. Behind them were phalanxes of new Hellside Guard, forces now accountable directly to Yawgmoth. He had instructed them, and the healers that, in case of riot, they must report to the infirmary, secure it against attack, and enter it to receive orders. Now they converged, 60-some trained, armed, and armored fighters against an unarmed mob of 100. As the slaughter began, Yawgmoth blissfully withdrew from the window. He took with him the box schematic of the infirmary. Power stones there indicated that the doors and shutters of the lower floor were holding. Another stone that monitored the roof glowed deeply red. A flotilla of sedan chairs was settling into position. Yawgmoth had expected this arrival, not untouchables, but another band of equally desperate opponents. Striding from his laboratory, Yawgmoth climbed a set of stairs leading to the roof platforms. He hauled the bar from the door and flung it back, stepping into full view of the crowded rooftop. Before him, counselors climbed unsteadily from their sedan chairs. In their midst was the ever-regal eldest Jamith of Halcyon. Her robes were battered by the hasty flight, and her coiffure had suffered similarly. Still, she managed to compose her dignity and approach Yawgmoth. "Greetings, Healer Yawgmoth. You know why we are here." It is the only secure spot in the city? He teased gently. She was not amused. We have come to confer on you, as per our agreement, complete command of the Hellside Guard. You will maintain control until the threat of invasion is eliminated. The city is yours to command. We throw ourselves on your mercy. An enigmatic smile touched Yawgmoth's lips. I had expected as much. He gestured out beyond the roof, to the streets where rebels died. The Healing Corps and Hellside Guard marched inward over fallen bodies. As you can see, my forces arrive even now. They converge here because I knew this would be the main objective of the revolt. Also, the troops converged to receive special weaponry for their fight against Thydix. A bit of sweet deadliness. We had hoped as much, Eldest Jameth responded grimly, her eyes sweeping the street, a river of blood. Elders clustered up beside her, wearing haunted looks. They were anxious to get below. So was the eldest. May we review the troops? Yawgmoth bowed gently and gestured toward the stairway. They will be filling the hall below just now. Come, see. Without pause, he led them down the winding stair. His boots sent martial echoes through the passage. The others followed. Their soft-soled shoes whispered apologetically. All the while Yawgmoth descended, he manipulated his box schematic, unlocking the doors to the great hall. From below came the sound of soldiers flooding in. By the time Yawgmoth and the counselors reached the great room, its white marble floor was stained with red footprints. Soldiers fell in line, guards on one side of the long chamber and healers on the other. At Yawgmoth's insistence, slim plates of metal had been sewn into the soldiers' bellies, backs, and thighs of their jumpsuits. Yawgmoth strode out between the gathering lines. The elders followed. Welcome to the war, soldiers, healers. Elders, Yawgmoth said wryly. He snapped his fingers, gesturing to a pair of soldiers at the end of the line. Fetch the battle armor. Swords, haul them here, beside me. The two soldiers hurried to a wall of cabinets, threw back the tall white doors. Within were great racks, 20 filled with gleaming armor, 10 bins with swords, their hilts jutting upward. Hastily, the soldiers hauled racks and bins out to the center of the floor. From the first rack, Yawgmoth lifted a gleaming suit of silver armor, shoulder plates, cuirass, chainmail skirt, and cuisses. With one swift motion, he donned the armor. It rang, bell-like. The red power stone gleamed at his throat. This armor will more than protect your body from any attacks the damned can make against you. The power stone in each suit will make it mold perfectly to your frame. Your movements will be amplified by your armor, your strength doubled, your arms steadied. There's a helm for each of you as well. A stone set in each will allow me to track your positions, provide special instruction, should circumstances require it. Impressive designs, Yawgmoth, Eldest Jameth interrupted. They are Glacians, he said offhandedly to her. Speaking again to the soldiers, he said, as to specific orders, you must march to and defend the sector of the city you are assigned in your routine duties. Slay any rioters you encounter, use these swords. He leaned over one of the bins of swords, producing the jar of antiserum from his pocket. He poured some into each bin. Then he drew forth a sword, a massive double-edged weapon, its tip smeared with the red stuff. They have the same heft and length as the swords you practiced with, but the inset stones here make the blade powerful enough to cut through rock. They are poisoned now, too, so be sure not to cut yourselves or any citizen. The poison will destroy our foes. Again, very impressive, the eldest said approvingly. Yawgmoth did not deign to answer this time. Instead, he gestured toward the racks and bins. Armor! And arm yourselves. With the clamor of 100 boots, the soldiers and healers converged. A strange alliance of fear and hope filled the faces of the elders as Yawgmoth's forces converged. One by one, the troops were transformed into gleaming warriors with magic-enhanced greatswords. How long have I been in charge of the Hellside Guard? Yawgmoth asked the elders. Only a few moments. Look at them now. Yes, Eldest Jameth said. Look at them now. Yawgmoth gathered the counselors. Come with me. You will see more. As the armies of Halcyon accoutred themselves and marched out into the bloody streets, Yawgmoth led the counselors upstairs. Their shoes stained each tread. Excited whispers filled the air. They were like children heading toward a room full of presents. The elders entered a corridor above. Yawgmoth strode imperiously down the aisle, stopped at a door, and flung it back. The counselors crowded up to see what lay beyond. It was a comical sight. In the murk, a company of 10 goblins stood at the ready. They stared fearfully outward, bulbous heads and buggy eyes shimmering in the dark. Each held whatever medical implement had seemed most menacing. Scalpel, clamp, strap, tube. In their midst was the most pathetic figure. Glacian, all his wretched decay. His skin was more rumpled and pocked than the goblin's, his arms more puny, his eyes more terrified. He clutched a stylus as though it were a sword. The single imposing figure in the room was Rebecca in her dirty work suit. She brandished a bed rail overhead, ready to bring it down. Yawgmoth spoke with gentle mockery. "You're quite safe here, Rebecca. No one will harm your husband. The infirmary is well fortified." Eldest Jameth spoke up. "It is a veritable castle." "Come with us, Rebecca. Come see. Today the riots will end." He extended his hand to her. Blushing, Rebecca set down the bed rail. She surrendered her fingers to his grip. Glacian growled a garbled objection. No one but Rebecca could have known what he said, and even she paid him no heed. Yawgmoth led her out of the darkness. As they walked toward the laboratory, he lifted the box schematic. "Do you see these power stones here, here, and here? They are linked to the main doors, and these are linked to the shutters, and these to other defenses. Another innovation of your husband's." Rebecca's eyes were wide with amazement. "This device? From his sketches?" Yawgmoth smiled. "His split mind has proved useful. Whenever I need a device, I begin the design myself and leave it in his room. Can't remember having started the work, but he'll finish it, design it for me. Together, we've created some marvelous devices for the defense of the Empire." He opened his laboratory door and entered, striding to a tall cabinet on one wall. This, though, is the greatest of them all. Yawgmoth opened the doors, revealing a simple panel of wood standing within. "This?" asked Rebecca as the counselors came up behind her. "This wide, flat piece of wood is your greatest innovation?" Without a word, Yawgmoth reached up to the top of the panel, pulled it down. The vast board pivoted on hidden hinges and springs until it settled into a broad table in their midst. The tabletop gleamed with a tight array of small power stones. To most eyes, the organization of those stones would have seemed random, but not to the eyes of Rebecca. She had designed so many buildings and avenues, had daily stared down on Halcyon from the heights of her temple. "It's the city," she whispered. "You've mapped the whole city in power stones?" "They are linked to doors and shutters and lights in every building. They're linked to the stones and the helms and swords of the soldiers and healers. By merely touching a stone, I can control sights and warriors throughout Halcyon." Eldest Jameth's former awe had now deepened to dread. "Yes, you can. You can control the whole city."